Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling match review. In 1993, amid the steroid scandal, old Hulk Hogan left the WWF and was out of the wrestling business for quite some time. He was off to do movies and everything. He wasn't the best at it, but he was doing movies, movies and TV shows, more specifically Thunder in Paradise. But while on the set of Thunder in Paradise, he met Eric Bischoff. He was also visited by Mean Gene Okerlund, but he especially met Eric Bischoff, the then president of WCW, and he talked Hogan into signing with WCW, where the big boys play. A look at the verb, not the adjective, the verb play. But nevertheless, Hogan was now within WCW, and it was time for him to make his big debut, who against someone he never faced in the World Wrestling Federation. And it's time to fulfill the dream match, as I'm talking about Bash at the Beach, WCW Bash at the Beach in 1994, as Hulk Hogan finally, for the first time on pay-per-view at least, he takes on the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, for the WCW Championship. The WCW World Championship, that is. Now, of course, as always, I'm not a professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that, just a man who enjoys a good time. And I had a pretty good time, for the most part, with this match. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Did the dream match live up to the hype? Excuse me, let's find out. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works, or at least you have an idea of how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. I kind of gave you some backstory ahead of time, but it's also worth mentioning they made a big deal about Hogan coming to WCW and Hogan challenging Flair. They built it up in a big way, almost like a WrestleMania level build, where Hogan got like the ticker tape parade. There was some involvement from Disney and from Disney MGM, and Hogan it was hyped up big time of Hogan coming to WCW, and even had celebrities showing up to make their presence known, to really beef up this match even more. You had Shaquille O'Neal, you had I don't think Dennis Rodman was in the fold just yet for this match, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so this was a very big deal. They wanted as many eyes and as much mainstream attention on this as possible for understandable reasons. Like, this was a very big deal. Hogan making his big return to wrestling. He did have a brief stint in New Japan, in which very little footage of it exists online. You see some stuff of what Hogan is doing in New Japan, and where you're able to see like a very different Hulk Hogan in terms of his style compared to the Hogan we're used to. To the WWE Vault channel, if you're watching this video, which you probably aren't, but if you are, or you guys have been doing great stuff. You've been finding some really cool stuff, some really obscure stuff. If there's any footage to find, it's that footage of Hogan in New Japan. Work out whatever deal you have to with New Japan, but it would be really interesting to see. And maybe if they bring it to YouTube and everything, maybe I'll review it. I don't know, but nevertheless, so Hogan coming in was a big deal. And battling Ric Flair, very much a dream match, a match a lot of people had been hoping for quite some time, but never happened in the WWF, even when Ric Flair was there. But now we're finally getting to see it under the WCW umbrella, and WCW beating WWF to the punch when it comes to that, and also a very big deal. Now, they did test this out on the house show circuits, but apparently, for one reason or another, the fans weren't really into that match. And it's one of those cases where WWF saw the house show reception to it and decided not to bring it to TV. Which it's usually either or when it comes to that. In the case of like the Royal Rumble, it didn't do well with the house show audience, but it did make it to TV and pay per view, and the rest is history. Which is also funny considering both these men would wind up winning Royal Rumbles. Hogan winning two, in fact, in back-to-back years, but yeah, this was one of those times where they decided, you know what, we'll listen to the house show audience, we won't bring this to TV. But I feel like maybe they should have brought it, or at least did it in a different audience, maybe a different like test. You gotta run 2 or 3 heat tests, you know. Oh, you don't just run a test one time and then call it quits from there. That's science. Come on, man. And you gotta experiment with different sample sizes and everything, or I guess in this case, different sample audiences. But nevertheless, the stage was set for Bash at the Beach 1994, and like I said, built up in a big way, a very much like a WrestleMania-esque feel to it, with how much they were hyping this up, even down to the entrances, as both guys get like very big entrances. It's put in the main event. The WCW Championship is put on the line. As for the match itself, did it live up to the Dream Match hype? Kinda, for the most part, in a way. First, I guess, getting into what I liked about the match, it definitely feels like what a Hulk Hogan Ric Flair match. Like, if you were someone who was a fan back then, I obviously wasn't because I wasn't born yet, but if you were a fan back then and you wondered what a Hulk Hogan Ric Flair match would have looked like, this is probably what you would have imagined. And Hogan doing very Hogan things, being very resilient, using a lot of that power, being the valiant comeback babyface. Ric Flair, meanwhile, being the dirty technician heel, and pulling out all the stops to get the advantage on Hogan. It's very much the best of both worlds. Like, in a lot of ways, you get the best of Hogan. In a lot of ways, you get the best of Flair. Someone pointed this out in the comments. I think in the comments of the video, because I was able to watch this on YouTube. But someone pointed this out, and I very much agree. He. It kind of does feel like New Japan Hogan kind of shows through in this match. Like Hogan, a bit more fast paced, a bit more energetic in a way. Not to say he was always apathetic in the ring, just sometimes, or slow, boring, apathetic in the ring. And like I said, just sometimes. But okay, I don't see it in these comments, so it might have been somewhere else. But I think having that kind of style and not having it being dragged out and boring, and very much helped out this match along. And both guys really, it really goes back and forth. It really kind of feels like anyone's game. Like Hogan overcoming everything that Flair's throwing at him. Flair, or doing everything he can to put down the Hulkster, even showing some power of his own. I'm going for a suplex on Hogan, and Hogan even locks in a figure four of his own. But excuse me, but I think all those aspects really help add to this match. And of course, Hogan gets the win, because was there any doubt? Oh, and I think that very much was the right choice. Like Hogan being so over, having this big comeback for Hogan to the world of pro wrestling in WCW, who having him get the win, and definitely made a lot of sense. And they celebrate in the big way, after Hogan wins, it's treated very much as a big deal. Also, the presentation and like the in-ring stuff, it is depending on how much of a fan of both these guys you are, or you either like it or dislike it. But there's no denying that they nailed the presentation, from the entrances to the feel of the match to even the build-up beforehand. They very much put a lot into building this match up and building the hype up around this match, and it definitely paid off. And Hogan and Flair did their part in ring, and using both of their skill sets and having them mesh well together. And granted, it'd be a match they would do to death in WCW because as WCW, who oftentimes did too much of a good thing to the point where it was no longer a good thing. But yeah, this match, in terms of living up to the hype, I think it very much did so. But in terms of what I didn't quite like as much about this match, maybe a little too much of Flair her and his trademarks and everything because there is way too much not Charmel, Sherry. I almost said Charmel. There's way too much Sherry, sensational Sherry in this match. She interferes way too much on behalf of Flair. Like there's way too much of her in this match, and it almost kind of takes you out of it, and it gets kind of annoying. Like Jimmy Hart's there to counteract her, but it gets pretty excessive, and it almost kind of detracts from this match. That and there are points where this match kind of drags, but I guess it's the nature of a match like this is they want to build it up and really make it a Clash of the Titans, Clash of Champions, if you will. Okay. But I guess it comes with the territory of this match, but felt like way too much Sherry in this match for my liking. Do I think she should have, am I against her interfering in this match? Not necessarily, but I think it was done way too much in this match. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every single time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. Let me know in the comment section below. Ooh, my goodness. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the match and my review of the match. You like the match? You like my review of the match? Let me know. There we go. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace. There is another aspect that I want to talk about of this match that I kind of forgot to talk about. And that's kind of the aftermath for the next 6 years. It's crazy that Hogan's career kind of began and ended at Bash at the Beach. He's like Hogan, regardless of how you feel about him, whether as a wrestler or how you feel about him as a person, aka how you feel about Terry Bollea as a person. There's no denying Hogan was one of, if not WCW's biggest star, one of their biggest draws. For better or for worse, it allowed him to get away with a lot, and obviously, in the years to come, we'd see too much Hogan was not a good thing. There's that phrasing again, but I think in the short term, it did help business quite a bit with this event and with this match. But there's no denying Hogan's legacy, for better or for worse, and his contribution to WCW, again, for better or for worse. And we definitely see both sides of those things in the history of WCW when it comes to Hogan. And whether it's the Dungeon of Doom or the backstage politics, or whether it's stuff like the NWO helping usher in the big wrestling boom of the 90s. There's no denying the legacy of Hulk Hogan, despite how you may feel about him. And I just wanted to add that in there because I definitely forgot to in the course of this review. But anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for watching. See you guys later. Peace.